Yo, what's good? It's Skano from the gutter. U.S. Open tennis player, Taylor Townsend, native Chicagoan. Shout out Chicago. Upon defeating her opponent, Jelena Ostapenko, they meet at center court. And by the way, she beat her 7-5, 6-1. I pretty dusted her. But, with this routine that opponents meet in the center of the court. Long story short, this chick, Jelena, apparently, has some type of grievance with Taylor. Not sure exactly what prompted this outburst, but as they're shaking hands or whatnot, Jelena Ostapenko or whatever, she explicitly states that Taylor is unprofessional and she lacks education, and it's like, where the hell did all this come from? But I know what the problem is. We all know what the problem is. Yeah. Because others, they have an adverse reaction to black excellence. It's difficult to swallow. But apparently, like I said, this chick, Jelena Ostapoto, she's from Latvia, which is in between the Baltic Sea and is near Lithuania and Estonia. Right. I don't know either. What I do know is it's European, and they probably don't run across many, people of color. I know you South Africans like to call y'all self-coloreds, but so these Europeans over there, she's probably never met a black person in her life, and she had to learn the hard way, that. So, what could have prompted this outburst? What could have led her to, make such an assertion? Nothing. Like I said, just black excellence. These people. Some of these people just can't tolerate, black folks being better than them at anything. That's why they destroy Rosewood, Black Wall Street. They are so threatened, by black excellence. I mean, they be wanting to unalive themselves. So, like I said, there was no form of disrespect or bad sportsmanship displayed that it's just the fact that this young black woman, gave you the business. You know what I'm saying? Wiped you down and dusted you off out there. That's what the problem is. I guarantee you this girl, Jelena Ostapoto, has never met a black person in her life, probably. Or, maybe she's seen them. Like I said, I doubt in Estonia or, Latvia, wherever the hell she's from, that, So they come up with all these different, ask them what they know about black folks, FBAs, American blacks. They won't come out and tell you, well, I don't know anything about them because I don't know any. Only what I've heard. They will never say that. What they will do is run with all the narratives, all the stereotypes, that perforate social media. And even before social media. I mean, let's be real. It ain't like social media spawned all the negative stereotypes, the false negative stereotypes surrounding FBAs and black folks in general. But as I said, they will run with those narratives. They rather believe that, we are inferior, less than, unintelligent, you name it. But FAFO. So what do you want this woman to do? Be apologetic because she's great? at what she does. I think the country of Latvia or what, y'all should be ashamed of this woman. You should. No matter what your ideology, because I doubt it stops with her or began with her. Miss Jelena. Sound like a black name. Can't even have our names. But anyway, I'm pretty sure it's pervasive in their country, and that's just me making a stab at but they never want to admit, they never want to acknowledge black excellence. It's such a threat to them, like I said. And I think that's the majority of what I know people, this may be getting off track, but the school shootings. I don't think it's so much as mental illnesses. I think a lot of, others are weak-minded. And like I said, the playing fields they still not level, but they are somewhat leveling out. And these people can't even fathom, like I said, trying to compete on a level playing field, even when they still have most of the advantages. So they flash out, they crash, man. They can't handle it. So, it is what it is. But Taylor Townsend has nothing to apologize for. And I noticed a theme. This happened with Shedeur Sanders, and I don't care what they say. They definitely blackball dude. They try to make an example of him, put it like that. Because they want us to be meek, like I said. Head down, even when you're great. You know what I'm saying? Never mind, their stars, celebrities, or whatnot. They can be just as confident and arrogant and belligerent and bold as, you know what I'm saying? There's no issue. They just charismatic when they that way. Y'all probably ain't heard of Johnny Manziel, but he came into the league with all type. Baker Mayfield too, Browns quarterbacks, and white guys. And it was Baker Mayfield got him more shit at Oklahoma, running from the police while drunk. It was all filmed. It didn't hurt his draft status at all. He got picked number 1 by the Browns. And same thing with Johnny Manziel, cokehead, drug addict, alcoholic, gambling addict. I mean, this dude was a crash mission. The league knew it. You think it hurt his draft status? No, it didn't. So Johnny Manziel is out the league, by the way. I guess he, more interested in playing with his nose. But the whole point I'm trying to make is Shedeur Sanders, the son of Dion, who is an outspoken, legend as it applies to football and now coaching, charismatic, outspoken. Y'all know how Dion get down. Y'all know his swag. And y'all know white America cannot stand that shit. It just so happened Dion was so great, they couldn't deny his greatness. You know what I'm saying? So they definitely, wanted to make an example of Shedeur Sanders. That's why he slipped so far in the draft. And it's because of the confidence. If you want to call it cockiness, we'll call it that. But as I said, there's no issue when white individuals are cocky and arrogant. They're confident and charismatic. You know what I'm saying? But it's something about black excellence. And when you're sure of yourself as a black person, confident, let alone arrogant, they want to see you strung up. You know what I'm saying? So, as I said, there is no issue here but the threat of black excellence. And as I said, a lot of people in this world, it's not just this country. And as I said, a lot of these people from different parts of the world have never shared the same space with black folks, black Americans, whatever. But they come to all these different, conclusions about what we're capable of and what we not. So it's just, the way things go in this world. you know. And being a former athlete myself, I understand, you know, put it like this. There were certain high schools that were mostly white, and we knew what it was going to be, especially in football. Because on a football field, you can say a lot of shit, and nobody can hear it but the players, not even all the players, because they scattered out in different, from play to play, in between. So long story, the officials be right there, white officials. And they'd overhear like Jefferson, Ohio, Madison, Ohio, these hick towns, you know, and this is when I was in Painesville. And we knew what it was going to be every time. You know, they was going to throw around the N-word, try to antagonize us to jump out our body. And if we respond, I mean, they blatantly calling us, you know, nigga right there in front of officials. And officials they don't hear nothing until you respond. They right on it. So you had to learn how to, you know, navigate it. And it can be trying, especially when you got a certain type of personality. So, you know, so all that to say, man, so what we would do, okay, we gonna be all that. And we just gonna pound, we gonna beat the shit out of y'all. You know, we gonna make sure when you're done, when we done here, you know, you gonna feel us long after. So go ahead, get it off while you can, you know. So that's how it go, man. And like I said, Taylor Townsend has nothing to apologize for, you know. And I believe this woman, that, you know, Jolena Ostapenko or whatever, you know, I think she owes her country an apology because she's a poor representation, you know. But actually, she's probably, you know, the perfect representation. But what can I tell you, man? We're not going to be ashamed. We're not going to apologize. You know what I'm saying? And if you have a problem with black excellence, what can I tell you? You know, I guess you can always end it all, you know. Don't do that. No ops left Scano. You already know.